Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. With the launch of Genie Plus, we got an update to the Disability Access Service Pass program at Walt Disney World. For anyone unfamiliar with the Disability Access Service program at Walt Disney World, we will discuss who is eligible, how you register, how you obtain Disability Access Service passes in the parks to go on rides, and how you redeem them. Plus, I'll be sure to highlight those updates that happened with the Genie Plus launch, and we will also talk about how Disability Access Service integrates with other programs at Walt Disney World. Stay tuned! Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This is a topic I've been wanting to cover on the channel for quite a long time. I know many of you have been patient while I gather all the information I can and try to make the most accurate video possible. If you have personal experience with the Disability Access Service program, I would love to hear about that in the comments down below. Additionally, if you have further questions, please do leave a comment and I'll do my best to get you a useful answer. And thanks so much for leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. Let's get into Disability Access Service. The Disability Access Service program, or DAS or DOS for short, is intended for guests who have a difficulty tolerating extended waits in conventional queue environments due to a disability. This does include non-apparent disabilities. The most common misconception about the DOS program I see is folks think that this is specifically for people with mobility disabilities. The Walt Disney World website states that if your only disability is a mobility impairment, that you actually do not need DOS. Just being in a wheelchair or scooter or needing crutches or similar alone does not qualify you for the DOS program. For example, if someone in your travel party recently broke their leg and they are using a wheelchair to get around the theme parks on vacation, they are not eligible for a DOS pass. As a quick side note, let's discuss mobility disabilities at Walt Disney World's theme parks. Attractions at Walt Disney World are broken down into the following categories. There are some attractions where guests may remain in their wheelchair or ECV to ride the ride. Then there's other attractions where guests would have to transfer from their wheelchair or their ECV to the ride vehicle, so you can remain in your wheelchair or ECV throughout the line, and you just need to get out to get into the ride vehicle. The next category is transferring from an ECV to a wheelchair. So if you are an ECV user, there will be some attractions where you will need to be in the wheelchair and not the ECV. The fourth category is attractions where the guest must transfer from an ECV to a wheelchair, presumably just for the queue portion of the ride, and then from the wheelchair to the ride vehicle itself. And finally, the last category is attractions where the guests must be ambulatory. Let's take a closer look at that. For attractions where guests must be ambulatory, this means that the guests must be able to walk themselves through the queue and onto the ride vehicle, again, either by themselves or with assistance from someone in their travel party. There are very few attractions where guests must be fully ambulatory to experience the attraction. Officially listed as attractions where guests must be ambulatory on the Walt Disney World website are Peter Pan's Flight, Tom Sawyer Island, Swiss Family Treehouse, and the People Mover. Additionally, there are a smattering of attractions at both water parks where guests must be ambulatory, that is Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. But this is it. This is the extensive list. When you're looking at the 4 main theme parks, there are only 4 rides officially listed where guests must be ambulatory. Overall, by standards in the United States of America, Walt Disney World is actually highly accessible for folks with mobility-only disabilities. A vast majority of the attractions you are able to use your aid, be it a wheelchair or an ECV. Therefore, if you go and speak with a guest relations cast member about obtaining a DOS pass specifically for a mobility disability, they probably will be encouraging you to rent a wheelchair instead. The baseline thought here, in my opinion, is that given that a vast majority of the attractions are accessible for folks in a wheelchair or ECV, if you rent a wheelchair, you'll be able to sit in it through the queue, and then in many cases you can take the wheelchair onto the ride, or you only have to transfer from the wheelchair into the ride vehicle a very limited amount of time. Every trip I've taken to Walt Disney World, and frequently online, I often see guests complaining that cast members are suggesting that they rent a wheelchair instead of giving them the DOS pass. Ultimately, the cast members are just enforcing the eligibility rules set forth by the company, where a mobility disability alone, without any other types of disability, does not make you eligible for the Disability Access Service program. If you run up to this, remember to be kind to cast members. They are simply doing their jobs. There is not an official list of conditions that make you eligible for the Disability Access Service program, but mobility-only disabilities are excluded. Moving right along, let's say you believe that someone in your travel party does qualify for the Disability Access Service program. You will need that person to register. There are 2 ways you can do this: in person at guest relations in one of the 4 main theme parks, or in advance online. This can be done online on your computer or on your phone through the My Disney Experience app. Walt Disney World does not require any medical documentation. You don't need a note from a doctor or anything like that to register. If you decide to register in person, you'll need to speak with a cast member at guest relations in one of the 4 main theme parks. Notably, you are not able to do this at Disney Springs. To do so, you'll simply tell a cast member that you would like to register for the Disability Access Service program, and they'll engage in a brief conversation with you, ask you a few basic questions to make sure that you are eligible. Once they determine you are, they will take your picture and confirm your travel party, and that's pretty much it. It's a really fast process. Instead of doing this in person though, thanks to that Genie Plus tech update, you can now register for the Disability Access Service program online via live video chat. If the member of your travel party looking to register for Disability Access Service program is a minor, their parent or guardian will need to be present for this. You can do this in advance online registration between 2 and 30 days prior to your park visit. You will need a working camera and microphone to participate, either on a computer, your laptop or desktop, or on your phone through the My Disney Experience app. A functioning camera is essential because once the cast member does determine eligibility and gets you all registered, they will need to take a picture of the registered DOS guest. A few technical logistic notes about registering for DOS in advance. Currently, this is only offered in English and is only open from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. Eastern Time or Walt Disney World time. For folks with visual impairments, the video chat is screen reader friendly. And for folks with hearing impairments, there is a text chat available. And while registering in person is usually fairly quick, anecdotally, the waits to register online can be quite long. And Disney will also sometimes close down the ability to even get in line to start this chat if there are too many folks already waiting. In-person registration may take less time than online, but there is a really huge perk about waiting in that queue to do it online. After that online in advance registration process, guests can work with that cast member to go ahead and pick 2 advanced attractions to get a DOS pass for every day of their visit. As you can see, DOS is an extremely appealing program. With all good things, some people are not so honest and try to take advantage of the system. Particularly because Disney requires no medical documentation, they really are counting on the honesty of the guests here not to abuse the system. It's worth noting that if guests are found out to have lied in order to obtain a DOS pass, that they will be permanently barred from the theme parks, and also any money you spent on an annual pass or Magic Key over in Disneyland or day tickets will be forfeited. As we continue to explore DOS program details, I'm sure it will look more and more appealing, but again, if you are not eligible, there are severe consequences if you are found to have lied. Let's not make the system worse for folks who really need it. If you don't need the DOS, please don't abuse it. Now that you or someone in your travel party has registered for the Disability Access Service program, let's go over actually using a DOS pass. There are 2 main methods here. The first we'll go over is same-day return times, either in person or through the app, and then we'll talk more about DOS Advance, which I touched on just briefly a minute ago. Same-day DOS return times are very similar to what you may be used to with FastPass or Genie Plus Lightning Lane selections. These are planned and redeemed on the day of the park visit. The wait time is based on the posted wait time, which can be a little bit frustrating if posted wait times are inflated. A great perk for folks who need a little more flexibility in their day is that there isn't a strict window for same-day DOS Pass return times. There will be a return time listed, that's the earliest you can go, but then they're valid through the end of the day through park close. Therefore, it's distinctly unlike FastPass or Genie Plus Lightning Lane in that way where you have a specific time period you have to make it to the ride to. DOS Pass is not like that for same-day return times. And anytime after that return time, you just go back to the attraction, speak with a cast member. Typically speaking, you're going to end up going through the Lightning Lane. So it's not instant access to the ride, but it does tend to help with wait time significantly. In order to obtain these return times, you're highly advised to use the My Disney Experience app. Navigating to the menu section of your app, you will have this Disability Access Service Program icon. From there, you can select the attraction that you're interested in and request a return time. Then you select your party and click confirm. If you'd rather not use the app, you can also go in person to the attraction and speak with a cast member. Simply tell them that you have the DOS pass and you would like a return time. They'll work with you to load that into your profile. If you are going to do this in-person method, the guest who is DOS eligible does not have to go in person. For example, if it's your child that has registered for the Disability Access Service Program, you can leave your child with another member of your party and you can walk over to the ride to get the return time for your party. Your child does not have to come with you. But again, you can instead do this through the My Disney Experience app yourself instead of having to go all the way to the attraction and speak with a cast member. You can hold one of these same-day return times at a time. For example, if you use the app or go in person to get a return time for Frozen Ever After, you're essentially waiting in a virtual queue. Then once you've hit your return time, you are free to ride whenever. But until you go ride, you cannot receive another return time for another attraction. This is a one-at-a-time system. Now, other than same-day return times, let's go back and talk a little bit more about DOS Advance. When you register for the program online in advance, 2 to 30 days before your park visit, you can also go ahead and pick up to 2 attractions per day as DOS Advance. This is subject to availability though, and you will need to have all of your travel party with their ducks in a row. You will all need to be connected on the friends and family list, and they will all need valid theme park admission and park pass reservations already linked to their accounts. Additionally, the DOS Advance selections have a 1-hour return window time. So this is very unlike usual DOS, where once it is your return time, you can go whenever. DOS Advance, you have to go within this hour window. And while guests can hold 2 DOS Advance selections per park day, they cannot be the same ride. So for example, you couldn't have Frozen Ever After 2 times in the same day for your DOS selections. It would have to be Frozen Ever After and then a different ride. And once you've gone through the process of making your DOS advanced selections, they will appear in your plan section of the My Disney Experience app. You can combine using DOS Advanced with the traditional same-day return times. Therefore, you can hold up to 2 advanced selections and 1 normal same-day return time selection for a total of up to 3 DOS Pass attractions in your plans at any one given time. And once you've hit an attraction return time, it's time to redeem your DOS Pass. Head to the attraction and speak with a cast member, usually at the Lightning Lane entrance. If there is no Lightning Lane entrance for that attraction, just speak with the cast member situated at the front of the attraction and they'll help you out. Importantly, the DOS guests must be riding. For example, if your child is DOS eligible and you use the DOS Pass system to get a return time for Big Thunder Mountain, but your child does not want to ride Big Thunder Mountain, none of the rest of your party can go without them. The point of the system is to help the person that needs the accommodation. If that accommodation isn't needed because the person doesn't want to ride, nobody else gets to use the system. Assuming that the DOS eligible guest does want to ride, it is easiest if you have them scan in first. They will tap into a touch point, typically at the Lightning Lane, but it may be some sort of handheld device or similar as well. And then the cast member needs to confirm the DOS eligible guest. That's why they take their picture. Once they confirm that, they'll be marked through as okay, and then all the rest of the party can follow. If other party members try to scan in first, it will tell them to wait, and then you still have to go with the DOS eligible guest first. Again, they're trying to make sure that the accommodation is helping the DOS eligible and registered guest. Therefore, the cast members do confirm the DOS eligible guest identity via that picture that was taken either online in advance or in person with guest relations. Once the DOS eligible guest identity is confirmed, basically everyone just scans in then. After registration, the Disability Access Service program is valid for up to 60 days, but after those 60 days have passed, guests will need to re-register. And the DOS program is only valid at the resort that it was issued at. For example, if you registered for DOS at Walt Disney World and 30 days later you're off to Disneyland, even though you are within that 60-day time frame, it doesn't transfer from Walt Disney World to Disneyland, so you would need to register there. And the Disability Access Service program does interact with other services offered at Walt Disney World. For rides where you need a virtual queue, for example like Rise of the Resistance in the past, having a DOS Pass doesn't override the need for a virtual queue. Guests will still need to obtain that virtual queue placement, and then you can use your DOS Pass in combination with it. Once your virtual queue number is called, go ahead and speak to a cast member, let them know you have the DOS Pass, and they will let you know what happens next. Often you're told that the DOS Pass entrance is through the Lightning Lane, but it's worth noting that in some rides, going through the Lightning Lane means missing quite a lot of story and interactive queue elements. Then guests are simply able to decide what makes the most sense for them. Use the DOS system to go through the Lightning Lane, or go through the regular standby queue with your virtual queue. That's a basic overview of the Disability Access Service program. Remember, mobility disabilities only do not qualify for the DOS program. You can register for DOS online in advance or in person with guest relations. Essentially, using a DOS Pass is getting a return time at an attraction, you're waiting in that queue virtually, and then once your return time hits, you can go ahead and ride that ride. Typically, your queue wait will be much shorter going through the Lightning Lane entrance, hopefully making that queue experience much more tolerable for a wide variety of guests. For same-day return times, you can only hold 1 at a time, and with that new DOS Advanced system, you can hold an additional 2 per day, though those do have a 1-hour return window. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to get you a useful answer. And remember, please don't abuse the system, and always be kind to cast members. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.